Oh, your spouse just did that thing that makes you so mad. Again. It's like the 20th time that this has happened. You've talked to them so much about it, and oh my gosh, what if they never change? You're just feeling so boiling angry or coldly hopeless for them and maybe for your marriage. What I want to talk about today is the fix for that conflict. That sounds too good to be true. All I can say is it is not complicated. It is hard, but it's not complicated. So what is the fix? The fix is love. Now, I'd love to be able to explain that to you, how love can overcome these conflicts. Before I do, I would love to give you a gift. One problem that I see in a lot of the couples that I work with is that they really do want to love each other, but they don't know how to communicate in a way that their spouse will not feel attacked or defensive when they're communicating. So I have a free training that I want to give you. It's called Communicate Better, Be Happy Together. In it, I will cover the most important tool for communication, as well as how to overcome the 7 most common obstacles to using that tool. Now, I'll do it all through understanding how Jesus and faith in Jesus helps us grow and be able to use those tools. So if you're interested in that, go to my website, nickperrine.com, and get that free training so that you can communicate what is in your heart so that you and your spouse can be understood by each other, so that you can love each other, so that you can be happy together. Now, let's dive in on how love can transform these conflicts into sources of connection and joy. Let's look at 1 Corinthians 13, 1 through 4. It says, "If I speak in the tongues of men and angels, but have not love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and knowledge, if I have faith that can move mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. If I give away all I have and deliver my body over to death, but have not love, I gain nothing." There's just one point that I want to draw out from this scripture, and it is a point that became incredibly important to me in my journey to a thriving marriage. The point is this: without love, nothing else I do matters. Nothing else I fight for, nothing else I'm talented with, nothing else that I value matters without love. You see, conflict is all about what we love. If, let's say, you come home and the house is a mess and you get so upset, what you're loving is cleanliness. And in that moment, let's say you pick a fight with your spouse or make kind of snide comments at them about the state of the house. The thing that you're loving is cleanliness, and you love in that moment you love cleanliness more than your spouse. And so you pick a fight, and then they get defensive, and then you're off to the races. again. When my wife and I first got married, we fought about sex all the time. I kept fighting for my ideal sex life that I had sort of in my head, ultimately because I loved that version of a sex life more than I loved my spouse. I cared about it more than I cared about my wife. When I was able to let go and choose to love my wife instead of my ideal sex life, a few things happened. One, we fought less about it just because I wasn't acting so much like one of those dogs that hump you all the time. Secondly, we could actually talk about sex because I could communicate that I cared about my wife more than I cared about our sex life, because I came to find that I actually did. Thirdly, we ended up having better sex because I wasn't making it all about me. I get that I'm speaking in very black and white terms, but there is something really helpful about putting it that way. I get that there's a lot of gray in all of the issues that you care about and your spouse cares about, but I often find that in most cases, the gray tends to just muddle the issue more than is helpful. Because ultimately the issue is you can either choose to love your desires or your spouse. One of them is going to be elevated above the other. The issue is, which are you going to choose? Are you going to choose your spouse? Are you going to choose to love your spouse, or are you going to choose to love your desire? So it was helpful for me. As soon as I put it in those kind of black and white terms, I can either love my wife or love my idea of this sexual ideal that I had in mind. It helped me clarify what my decision was, and the decision was obvious. Because if I had the best sex life and yet had not love, I gain nothing and I am nothing. Look, I'm not saying this is easy, but it's not complicated. And once you allow yourself to choose to love your spouse over your desires, you can probably come up with a dozen different things that you could do differently in a conflict that helps communicate your love for that person as the most important thing in this situation. And when you do that, you will see that over time it will transform that conflict. I don't know what exactly it will look like for you. Here's what it looks like for me often. If I'm feeling offended at something, I take a breath, relax my body, and picture a scale. On that scale, one side is the thing that I'm offended by. And then on the other side is my spouse, mother of my children, the woman who said yes to me, and very, very quickly, the scale starts to tip in the right direction. Is the offense gone? No. But it just doesn't matter as much anymore. Or probably better, it's become clear that it matters a lot less than my wife. Because here's the gospel for when you're focused on an offense instead of loving your wife. You are Jesus' spouse, and you have been super offensive to him. You not only have let him down, but blatantly ignored and rejected his desires. but He chose you, and He chose to love you rather than being offended at what you've done. And if Jesus can cover your offense, if Jesus' love can cover your offense, then your love can cover the offense of your spouse. So I have 2 questions for you. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. 1, why is it hard for you to love your spouse when you're feeling offended? Why is it hard for you? Notice I'm assuming that it is hard because it's hard. Secondly, what other questions about marriage, conflict, or loving each other do you have? I'd love to know so that I can help you in those situations. And before I go, if you have found this helpful, I think you will find my free training, Communicate Better, Be Happy Together, helpful. So go to my website, nickperrine.com, and get that free training today.